Hey everybody, Jason Sherman here. In today's episode of Zero to CEO, I chat with background check pioneer Stephen Ward. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
No problem. And today we're going to talk about reinventing background checks. This is a pretty big deal. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of big types of, entities and industries, right? Police and military and stuff like that. Where was like the moment in your life where you decided you want to get into that kind of, industry and that kind of work?
Yeah, I kind of got into it by accident. I was a private investigator for years and also had a private security company at one point. And I don't know, 10 years down the road, I got a call from a lieutenant from a police department that used to work for me and asked if I did public safety backgrounds. And I said, no. And he says, well, go get trained. There's a class next week. We have a lot of backgrounds. Love to give you. And so that's what kind of got me launched. And really they were, his name was Darren Thompson, and he was instrumental in really getting me started and making sure my reports were good. And so that's what got me launched. And then after I met with the chief, after our first couple backgrounds, he said, wow, these reports are terrific. And at that time we did binders. We weren't digital like we are today, but
Right.
That's what got me launched. And then I just started picking up, client after client after client with word of mouth.
Yeah. And, when it comes to like, I guess people have like misconceptions about like what background checks are even for in the first place, but you can use them for a wide variety of reasons. I mean, I know like landlords use them to check the background of tenants, but like what other types of things are background checks used for besides like employment or like landlords? Like there's got to be some other stuff.
Yeah, well, those other background checks take a day or two, and our public safety backgrounds take 30 to 45 days. It includes a face-to-face interview with the applicant in their home.
Oh,
We
wow.
do them in their homes. And then we get into just about everything in someone's life. We have that kind of that reputation where they get into everything. And so sometimes it's tough for someone that's worked in the private sector and then comes into public safety, and all of a sudden, we want to know about mom and dad and brothers and sisters and everything in between. So it's just a very comprehensive, intense background. Even our background investigators are all former law enforcement, so they've been backgrounded themselves. Although a lot of them, when they come into our system, ours is so high tech and sophisticated that it takes them a while to grasp, everything that they need to do. But those backgrounds for pre-employment for businesses and landlords and things like that are, quick and easy. They check a few public records, but we just really get into every single thing and talk to a lot of people.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you guys are high tech. So, like, what are the kinds of technologies that you're using to help speed up your investigations?
Well, one of the things I recognized when I started this was that there had to be a way to keep track of the 56 touch points in a public safety background.
That's a lot.
And it's one thing to make a spreadsheet. So I immediately looked for software. And the first software that I used was called POBITS, Peace Officer Background Investigation Tracking System. Wow, I remember that. And that was great. The guy that owned it was terrific. He was out of Virginia, and he wrote the software based on California post guidelines. And then down the road, a few years, I was introduced to Guardian Alliance technology, and so I worked with them and helped them develop their. It was pretty immature software when I first met with them, but that's what we use today. I've used it for 9 years. It's progressive. It keeps us organized. It allows us to write narratives. We can put templates in there, so it's kind of the fill in, so we don't miss anything. Reminds us if we've left something out or didn't check something, and so that's the technology. And then we create a digital PDF report that's password protected, okay. And that's uploaded into our client Dropbox so that they can have access to it. We don't send anything by email.
Okay.
because of personal information that's
Yeah,
shared.
email, I don't trust email, especially if we're dealing with backgrounds and people's information, right? You don't want it to get leaked out there by you CC'd the wrong person and now it's out there, right?
That's right. That's
It,
right. And
it,
even though we password protect that, boy, that would just be a no-no if someone accidentally did that. But yeah, email's the devil. So we don't
yeah,
do anything by email.
we can agree on that. I do not like email at all. I try to tell everyone I work with I don't like email, but some people are, they're stuck on email for some
They're
reason.
stuck on email.
Doesn't
Yeah,
make any doesn't make any sense to me. Um,
we also use a product called Slack.
oh yeah, of course. Slack is
Yeah,
the best for communication. I mean,
and
it's real time. You know.
Slack is just terrific in how we use it, and we just added an AI part to it so that someone can ask a question and it'll go search the background manual that Post has, our processes, our contacts, all that stuff, and get them the answer right away. So
Yeah.
it's really been a lifesaver.
Absolutely. And when it comes to background checks and investigative screenings in general, because it's not just a background check. It sounds like you're doing 56 touch points, so it's more of like a really deep dive. It's not. I wouldn't even call it a background check anymore. I'd call
Yeah,
it more. I'd call it more of like a, almost like a, I'm going to put on my rubber gloves and put you on the side of the airline thing.
yeah.
So, what are the myths and misunderstandings that go along with that? Because there might be some like misconceptions or myths that like go along with like investigative screenings. What are some of those?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that people don't really realize what a police officer goes through to get a job.
Oh,
And especially here in California, I think there's similar states that do really great background investigations, Arizona and Texas. Some of the other states we have found just don't match up to what we do. And so we're checking everything that you can think of. If you have a passport, we're going to verify it. If you have a social security number, we're going to verify that. Everything is verified. We're like a reporter that's got to track down three sources type thing to make sure
right.
that it's accurate. Because
Yeah.
you're talking about someone's life here,
Yeah.
and would never want to make a mistake and cost somebody a job or whatever the case might be. And so, whatever you can think of in your life, former wives, former husbands, former boyfriends, roommates. We're going to talk to roommates. Just everything. And what helps streamline our process is that the software I spoke of, Guardian Alliance technology software, sends out secure questionnaires to everybody that we want to speak to.
Oh, great.
And so those come back, and that helps streamline that process. We read them, and if there's anything in there that's a red flag, our investigators call and interview the person and find out why they left such an open remark.
So,
You
so,
know,
so does like, do these people like, ex-boyfriends, former employers, whoever, do they get noticed by the person who's being interviewed or investigated that this is going to happen, or is it random? Like, how does that work? Because that seems a little crazy.
yeah, we encourage the applicants to let people know that we're going to be
Okay.
contacting them.
Okay.
And in doing that, we ask them that they send an email out, make sure the email address works that they're going to provide us. So send an email out,
Right.
let them know that you're in background, you're going to be contacted. Whether people cooperate, an ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend wants to cooperate, it's funny that you'll contact 15 references in the family and the guy's golden, and then you contact an ex-girlfriend and she just slams them up and down.
Well,
So
because it's an X, right? You don't want to include an X. I mean,
that's well,
that's
they sometimes think that this is the way to get back to him
of
finally after
course
all these years. So
I can finally get back
that
at him.
is what happens. Yeah,
He's the worst. Don't hire that guy.
that's right.
And I
That's right.
gotta imagine. I mean, I remember I was working on a documentary during the pandemic, and then the George Floyd incident happened, and they were scrutinizing police hiring and kind of like how that process works.
Yeah,
And it was, that all the cops were like, well, we're not like him.
that's right.
He was kind of an outlier. He had his own mentality and his own way to do things, but we don't do it that way. So how do you, work with that kind of landscape now that it's changed a little bit post George Floyd when it comes to like transparency and scrutiny when you do this training and investigative training for police hiring?
It's interesting that you bring that up because George Floyd kind of tilted
Mm,
uh, our ability to get good applicants for a long time.
Oh, wow.
We still have a problem finding good applicants. But
Wow.
those people that were coming out of college with degrees in criminal justice that saw this happening with George Floyd incident and cops being spit on and disrespected and their departments being defunded and burnt to the ground, they just thought, whoa, I will go do something else. And so we lost a lot of really good people.
Interesting.
And we still have not recovered from that. You
Wow.
know, I do eight backgrounds to get one good applicant.
Wow.
Now I feel terrible about that because it makes me a lot of money, but I'm very sensitive to someone's budget, a city or county budget. I'm very sensitive to that. So we try to discount that as much as possible when we have to disqualify. But it's also caused lowering the bar. Some departments have lowered the bar and hired police officers that have been fired from another department, for instance. That just came out in the press last week. We already knew that being in the industry, but now that it's come into light that second chances are one thing, and we do encourage second chances. People make mistakes, but
Yeah, of course.
some
And
people are hiring guys that were fired, were brought up on charges,
wow.
lied on the stand, that type of stuff, and so it's a big liability and a big problem. But you, as a sheriff or a chief, you've got to get bottoms in the car seats, and so that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and I can imagine just one bad hire could impact not only the law enforcement agency but also the entire community because there's repercussions, right? And so you're really the first line of defense, it sounds like. So how do you position yourself, and like what are the challenges there? Like, and it sounds like you had to change the way you do things almost, right?
Well, I haven't changed anything. I'm still very granular in everything that we
Okay.
investigate on an applicant. We have not had, now I've been doing this 18 years next month. I haven't had one applicant, come back where we missed something.
Oh, great. That's really good news.
Now we've had, you're doing a background, not a foreground. So
Right.
cops will make stupid mistakes.
Yep.
Uh, I'm trying to start another service where we do backgrounds on police officers and sheriff deputies after 5 years of service,
Mm,
because departments don't know about the divorces and
right.
the domestic
What
violence,
happens after the fact, right?
what's been going on after credit reports, all that. And so that there should be a rewind of a background just to make sure that we're still in touch. That's normally when they go off the rails, is between 5 and 7 years with
Interesting.
mental health issues and things like that, and anger issues.
Yeah.
It's a really hard job.
Yeah, I mean they're dealing with the real stress of the world, and like everything, and potentially being killed on the job, right? I mean it's
Yeah.
the stress has to be incredible. So this means that you also have to somehow find not just the right person because of their background, but you're talking about their mental stability at this point. So is that part of your process as well?
It's part of preparing for that examination. So every sworn officer in the state of California gets a
Okay.
psychological exam. They also do a medical, and because of the way that our laws are set up, we're unable to ask questions about that. If you ever had a nervous breakdown, some of the laws in California, frustrate me because I can ask you how much alcohol you drink during the week, but I can't ask you if you smoke marijuana.
Jeez.
Yeah. And so the laws are a little bit out of whack there. I don't, if you smoke marijuana, I treat it like alcohol. I have for
Yeah.
years. How much do you smoke? Why are you smoking it?
Yeah.
Because that's also a mental health issue as well. If someone's, getting off work and going home and getting high because they can't deal with the day,
Yep.
or whatever the case might be. And so sometimes our hands are tied, but we do enough double checks and stuff on that we normally find out if there's been some drug use like that, but we can't even put that in our reports
Right.
if we find that out.
I guess like a HIPAA violation in some ways with the medical stuff too. Yeah, I keep
Yeah.
hearing about that lately. HIPAA is a big deal. So if somebody wants to build a startup like yours and they want to maybe talk to a company like yours, What advice would you give, and how would they get a hold of you?
Well, if they wanted to start one, they could just buy my company.
That's good
I've
advice.
done it. I've done all the work,
I like that.
and I'm 71, so I got to think about selling this off at some point.
All right.
But they can reach me on my website, which is GuardianBGI.com. They can call me directly, 209 400 5402. And I'm not a big social media guy, although I'm on there. I don't use it for marketing my company. I'm on LinkedIn, and I have, I don't know, thousands of followers that are law enforcement, but I don't market that way. Like I wouldn't contact a chief that follows me and ask
Right.
him, "Hey, who's doing your background?" It just makes them aware that I'm available to them, and the word of the mouth works out fine for that. So that's how you would reach me.
Guys, if you need a new business and you're in the market to buy one, GuardianBGI.com, and talk to Steven. He's trying to retire, guys. Come on.
There you go. There you go.
Hope you guys learned something, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.